Housing affordability broadly refers to the cost of housing services and shelter, both for renters and owners, relative to a given individual's or household's disposable income. In Abuja, housing has remained a massive challenge for residents, where many people battle homelessness. Statistics has shown that there are over 17 million housing deficit in Nigeria, and the FCT alone accounts for 10% of that 17 million. The cost of living in Abuja is deceptively high. The city is more expensive than other African giants such as Johannesburg and Nairobi. This can be seen in Abuja's ranking in Mercer's 2023 Cost of Living Survey, which placed Abuja as the 140th most expensive out of 227 cities. How then can we achieve affordable housing in FCT? What are the challenges? And what are the possible solutions? This and many more are the focus of our conversation on this episode of ABUJA File with Femi Jubal. He's a realtor and also the president, Brothers Lifting Brothers Foundation. We love Abuja, and this is why we bring you events, reports, interviews, and everything relating to the FCT. This is ABUJA File.
Standing before you today to accept the nomination of our party.
All right, now welcome to the program. And sitting with me here is the talked about Femi Jubal. Together we shall be doing justice to the conversation, affordable housing in FCT. Now the question is it really achievable? Thank you so much for joining me on the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure to have you.
We talked about Femi Jubal.
All right,
Thank
now
you.
when we talk about affordable housing, what is your own personal understanding of it? Because when you talk about affordable housing, lots of people have different opinion as to what affordable housing could mean. Some people just feel like it's basically just being able to afford a house. But affordability differs from person to person. So when I talk about affordable housing, what comes to your mind?
When you talk about affordability, it means that in an ecosystem, you're trying to create a structure where everybody at different stratas or social status are able to buy, lease, or rent property. So when we say affordable housing, we're not just talking about people who can afford to pay 20 million naira for a property. There are people who can't afford 200,000 naira. So it has to be all encompassing. So when we say affordable, it means that that young man who is a bricklayer can afford a roof over his head. That's what affordable is in this context.
All right. So now let's bring it down to the FCT. We know that Abuja is the seat of power, and a lot of people like to address it as the luxury city. So putting that into consideration, how would you rate affordable housing here in FCT?
Now, the truth is we have to first confront the realities, because in every city like Abuja, even in Dubai, Lagos, New York, every known city, usually housing is usually on the high side, because there you have more people coming to the city, either for official purposes or for relaxation. You know, they want to meet people and all that. It's quite different from the other places that are not, active. So the first thing is that would definitely raise the level of affordability or the value of properties in that area. So let's establish the fact that Abuja is one of those cities where you shouldn't expect that you just come here and then you can just, with little money, unlike Ondo, unlike some other places. So when we established that, we're able to put a lot of things into perspective. Like, as a person, you want to move to Abuja. First, you have to also, be able to afford it. Everybody wants to move to this. Nobody wants to stay in the.
So you're also of the opinion that Abuja is not for everybody?
Of course, absolutely. Abuja is not for everybody because the truth is, this, like you said, this is a seat of power, number one. And then the real, second to Lagos, the real estate here is quite on the high side. So, yeah, but because there are a lot of things happening here, like I said, and people are attracted to the city, so they would like to come. So first ask yourself, can I afford to live here? And then if you know that you cannot, there are, I believe that nothing is impossible. You can be strategic. There are also neighboring, places where you can, afford the properties in those areas.
Okay, you made mention of the thing, what you said. There are a lot of factors that came into Abuja not having affordable housing. And you made mention of a place, Ondo, and like you said, it's more affordable in Ondo. So, aside Abuja being the seat of power, are there other things that you say, okay, these are one of the characteristics, or these are one of the things that makes Abuja, or is the reason why housing in Abuja should be expensive? Because aside that, it's just the regular room and roof, and that's the same things that we use in other places.
Abuja is now what Lagos used to be. So we cannot rule out the fact that maybe in 20, 30 years, Abuja will become what Lagos is. We don't know. That may not happen, that may happen. So
we see possibility of that happening. We see the crowd trooping into Abuja every single day.
When you look at Nigeria, for instance, when people talk about the 5 cities that they would like to live in, Abuja is one of them. Why is it one of them? Not just because it is a seat of power, because that itself has attracted a lot of activities to it. There are hotels, there are events taking place and all that. So it draws the attention of people to this, unlike other cities like Ondo, like I mentioned.
Okay. Now let's take it a little bit to the Abuja Master Plan. Now we always hear the story of Abuja Master Plan, that there's a plan, there's a plan, there's a plan. You are into real estate. The first question is, from your own opinion, is there really a plan? And then secondly, this plan, we all know, I know that a lot of people will want to argue it, but we all know that there's no place in the plan for a common man. Because almost every part of Abuja was supposed to be luxurious. So all of these places that spring up, that you keep on hearing of issues of demolition every day, was not even in the plan. Even if they were in the plan, the kind of structures they are erecting in those places are not the kind of structures that were in the original plan. So first question is, in your own opinion, is there really a plan? Are we sticking to the plan? And then in a situation whereby there's no place for a common man in that plan, what do we do?
Okay, the first thing is Abuja, there is a plan. And they were intentional about the plan of Abuja. When you look at the development and the infrastructures you're seeing these days, you would agree that this is like one of the most planned cities in Africa. So there is a plan. So now you said that there is no place for the common man in that plan. Now, there is a place for the common man, not necessarily, not just in Nigeria, there are other cities in the world, even in Dubai that everybody talks about. Some people live in Sharjah and they work in Dubai. So I think the problem we have in this regard is that the neighboring cities are not developed. So it makes it look like it segregates the whole living condition. Like if you are not in town, then you are poor, you are living in Maraba, or you're living in all those places. So there is a plan, and then there is also another plan for the common people who would like to live in Abuja. That's number 2. Number 3 of your question is...
do you think that plan is still being followed?
I'm in the industry, like I said, so there are some... I'm going to be brutally honest.
Okay.
The plan is not being followed, and that's the fact. The plan was being followed under El Rufai. Yeah, one of the most hated, politicians in Nigeria, but one of the most competent people in the history of Nigerian, governance. So, but currently, because there are many in the plan, there are a lot of properties that are designated for a particular purpose. This place is meant for
green area.
Now there are people who are, it happens all over the world, not just in Nigeria. Change of purpose is green area, change it to this, and then they pay people, and then that's it. So currently, the plan is not being followed, and that's just the fact.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to take you back, because when you said when we talked about having a plan for the common man, you said other areas around Abuja, but not in Abuja. So I'm taking it that what you meant is the plan for common man were other areas around Abuja, but not inside this Abuja.
Because, like I said, there is, in every society, you have social existence. You have different categories of people: the high income earners, middle low and all that. So so you don't expect, and not just in Abuja or Nigeria, even in Dubai, you have people, Dubai is the closest place to Nigerians that they can relate with. So you have people living in Dera, for instance, because, you know, it's cheaper to live there, and then they work in, you know, city center, they work in all those other places. So you should expect that in every society, that in some particular areas, because of factors, there are some factors. What makes Metama is because of some factors. What makes central area central because of some factors. And those factors may not be existent in those other places. So that's normal, and it's just a reality of life.
Okay, like you said, you are in the system.
Yeah.
You're into real estate, and you know almost everything about housing in FCT. So my question is, I know that you've been in the system, you know everything, but are there challenges that you face in trying to, maybe let's say, would I just give it to you and say, okay, trying to provide affordable housing for people? Because now I understand that affordable housing is depends on who we're talking about. So, in the course of trying to provide affordable housing, or provide housing to people, what are the challenges that you faced so far?
Now, the thing is, when it comes to, personally, sometimes I go to some places in the outskirts and I'm like, I would really like to live in this place. Yeah, because this, I was telling someone that it seems as though that it is the reverse is the case in Nigeria.
Okay.
You go to a place like Buhari, for instance, you go to far Buhari, where they sell all those fresh palm wine with bushmeat, and then you are sitting down drinking palm wine, and you are just seated by a rock and green area and all that. Those are the real estate that should be expensive. But you see that in Nigeria, reverse
Is the case.
is the case. One of the reasons is the government's inactivity in those areas. You know, infrastructure is one of the things that would increase the value of any real estate. And at the end of the day, the government needs to step in to beef up not just infrastructure, security. So these are the factors, so that you can decongest. The reason everybody wants to come to Wuse, is because they feel that these are the areas where there is life, there is security, there are all those things. So to decongest these areas, then you have to make all those other outskirts habitable. And it's very possible. It's not rocket science. You know.
Well, like you said, in Nigeria, reverse is the case. But then you also made mention of the reasons why reverse is the case. Like in places like Wuse, like you made mention of, and Maitama, those places are relatively safer. And we all know that. So who do you blame for those places being safer than all these places that you also mentioned? It's the government.
Personally, I would not live in Wuse, because Wuse is too commercial.
Okay.
It's no longer a residential place. Boils down to our master plan. The master plan is for Wuse to be residential, but now it's now highly commercial.
Yes.
Before you know it, the commercial activities and the whatever will move to Maitama. And then the more it moves, then the more the power players move to more residential axis of the city.
Yes.
And then they push the low-income earners farther and farther, which is expected in any society. So I'm glad that the new government is making policies that I believe that would help this, deal with this issue. So they have to step in. Imagine, you're going to a place like Maraba, for instance. Last time I was in Maraba, I was depressed. I came back depressed because the things I was seeing, I was like, you see. So if the government can step in those areas, because that's like a boundary between Abuja and the other states. If they can step in and provide some form of amenities, security, road construction and all that, people will not be interested in coming to the city, because if you live, there are some cities in the world that people don't want to live in the city. They want to live in the outskirts, because there they have more peace, tranquility, and there's this harmony and this quietness that comes to living outside the city.
So now it's not just about the housing itself. It's not just about the housing structure. It's about all other amenities and other things.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
I think I understand that now.
Exactly.
People who are watching, I just hope that they're understanding it too. So we need a lot of things to be put in place for housing to be affordable. And those things are like transportation that you just made mention of. Security. And maybe employment. I think employment should come into that too.
Minimum wage.
Because since we all agree that affordability is relative to whoever it is that we're talking to at the moment. So it depends on how much you make. Then you know that what is affordable to you. So
it means that you as a person, like this government is teaching us, one of the first lessons is you have to cut your coat according to your size. So,
always. Yeah, it's not just about the government.
Life itself is teaching us that. So if you live in Buhari, for instance, the cost of fueling your car from Buhari to town every day is not less than 5,000 naira. So now you know, and that's where the government needs to come in with the minimum wage. So now if I live in that place, for instance, and I say, okay, I'm working here, I don't want to leave my job, then the government needs to come in with our transportation system, for instance. That's one of the things. If we have a solid, effective transportation system, a lot of people won't even drive their cars, and then it will be easier for people to live anywhere, as long as it is not less than an hour to the city, and come to the city, do their business, and go back to where they live.
Okay. So let's keep talking about your business first. Let's beat around that for a bit. So how profitable is it to be a realtor or real estate agent here in the FCT? Taking into consideration also the cost of housing here. So how much money do you get?
Well, to be, because there is a difference between a real estate agent and a real estate developer, and a real estate consultant. So real estate agents are the people who facilitate the buying or the selling of properties. They are more like marketers. That's the way we see them, And I'm going to say this right here, right now. The problem we have in Abuja when it comes to properties, when it comes to affordability and pricing, are the real estate agents. And I'll tell you why. Okay,
I know the real estate agents are the ones that you first charge you 2K for inspection fee.
And they will take you to a house that they know that is no longer available. It's now 5K.
Yes.
They take you to a house that is no longer available.
Oh, it's now 5K.
They know it is not available, but they want
your 5K.
Yeah. The real estate agents are the ones that I've encountered a lot of these things. I have a lot of people that I manage their properties for them. And then people tell me, someone says, I want to sell my property 500 million. Femi, this 500 million. And people come to me and say, can we load with 200 million, make it 700 million? I'm like, I don't do that, because several cases that I've seen, you tell the owner, these people, they are selling for 700 million. You give them, so my property can go for 700 million. And that's why ABUJA properties are not necessarily worth the price.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm in the industry. I shouldn't be saying some of these things, but they are not necessarily worth. You see a 3-bedroom flat, they are telling you 4 million. There is nothing inside.
Come to the quality of the kind of houses that they build.
You see a lot of estate, they tell you luxury estate. Do you know what luxury is? You put AC in a place, you say luxury. It is not the fault of the owners, it is the fault of the agents, because they are the ones that greed. They just want to make something off someone else's properties. And it's business. If I tell you that my property is 100 million, and you come to me and say somebody wants to buy it for 200 million, I'll be like, really? You don't own my property, and you walk away with 100 million. Okay, my property is 200 million. So you can't blame the owners. We have to blame the agents.
Okay, you were talking about other aspects of real estate. You made mention of the real estate agents, the ones that you call the marketers, and there are other aspects that you didn't get to talk about.
The developers are the ones who they invest either in intellectual property, assets, cash and all that in building a project.
Yes.
So we have a lot of them currently in Abuja. And, you also have to, I'm not going to, I came here to be brutally honest. There are a lot of developers in Abuja that are actually fraudulent. So we have a lot of people who have been burnt by these developers. There are people who want to invest their money. So it makes it look like it is rocket science for people to invest. Because middle income earners, for instance, they don't even have 50 million naira, they have 20 million naira. And then the issue of the mortgage, I have a mortgage agent that I work with now. Now, the last time I had a meeting, they're telling me 24%. 24% on to do what? 24% because you are giving someone mortgage. So you have all these factors in place. It's making it look like the city is not for average people.
Yeah.
Just leave and go back to your villages. But if the government can step in and the housing deficit, for instance, we're talking about, the number of houses you have in Abuja. You'll be shocked when you go to some places in Abuja and the estates that you will see uninhabited. And then, because the people that own these properties are probably not paying, apart from the ground rent that they pay, they're not paying any other thing. So it's okay for them. My house can be like that. Whereas you have millions of people. There are over 28 million homeless people in Nigeria, if not more than that. A very fair share of that are in Abuja.
And more people have been made homeless recently.
During
the demolition
started
of
with
Gishiru.
COVID, natural disaster, and then government policy, demolition, and all that. There are several people living under the bridge. We did, and we were doing film making one time, and then we used a drone. And then when we used that drone, I was looking at the drone on the monitor, and I noticed that many of the beautiful locations that you see in Abuja, they are surrounded by, all these small villages. So, and then you think because you are living in a fine house in a fine place, this is the mob. If anything happens, it doesn't take them more than one hour to mob all of you. So the government needs to step in. The real estate developers needs to ensure, because, because of the way Nigeria is, it seems as though that we are making life easier for the rich and making it more difficult for the poor. So if someone steps in, maybe I should be the one that will step in and say, okay, I want to provide housing for low-income earners. Because many of the estates that are sold out, for instance, they are sold out to the same people who have money
that will lock it up, and
that will lock it up.
It will still be empty.
They will buy it 5. I'm buying 5 of your properties. It's just there empty. Nobody stays there, and they don't care, because the government is not going to sanction them. That's another thing the government needs to do. If you have more than 10 properties, for instance, in Nigeria, in a country where there is housing deficit, a person should not just keep their house, tax them, put stringent policies on them. Then I either rent out this house, because no real businessman that actually made their money legitimately will leave their properties like that. No real businessman. So you must be a money misroad to leave your property like that.
But we have those kind of houses, like a million of them here in Abuja, and nobody is saying anything.
Exactly.
You made mention of the quality of housing here in FCT, and we have to talk about that, because I think that's like the one thing that has hurt my feelings the most since I moved to Abuja. The first time I was trying to get a place, I happened to visit a lot of places. I will not talk about the fact that I kept on paying 2K at every point, but that's
agents will frustrate you.
That's
they are like the demons on the streets.
I have forgiven them. But then, when you enter the place and you check the quality of the house, then you compare it to the price that it's coming with. It doesn't come close, because you made mention of Ondo, and I've also been to Ondo. When you go to Ondo, you see a room as big as this place, and that's just a room. That's less than 200,000 with a very big bathroom and a very mighty kitchen. But then you go to a house in anywhere in Abuja, your room, if in your sitting room and your room together is not as big as this place. Your sitting room cannot take three of this. But people are comfortable paying that huge amount of money. But my question, I'm not worried about people paying it. I'm worried about those building those kind of houses, because it's more like nobody is checkmating what these people do, no development agency, and then the conscience of the people who build this kind of houses. You're wondering what exactly is going on. You
know why? Because I'm in the industry, I usually don't like to put all the blame on property owners. I also, real estate agents, popularly called real estate agents, they are the middle men or women between the owners of properties and the end users.
Yes.
These guys are frustrating people. I'm telling you, I've seen these things happen several times. I've been approached by a lot of people that, because for the properties that I sell, I don't sell properties that I don't know the owner. Owners give me their properties to sell for them. So I've been approached, we want to put 200 million on the properties. No, I don't do that. I don't do that. So that's the same thing they do on these properties. And then the owners get to know about it. So what do you expect from the owners?
That's why the price keeps going up.
Yeah, that's why you see a house that is not worth that, rate. And then the value is not up to that. I'll tell you, in this KAFTAN extension, I told a friend, she's pure American, black American. I went to Lagos to see her. She's been in Banana Island for like 1 year. And I told her, I said, I want you to move to Abuja. It's more virgin ground for you to do whatever you want to do. And she said, okay, I'll move. And then she paid about 12 million naira for a house in KAFTAN extension. And then after paying the money, poor service, so much disrespect and disdain of a customer that paid, a tenant that paid you 12 million naira, and currently the case is in court. So you have, so now, but it is not the owner. Now it is the facility manager and the agents who serve as the go-between between the end user and the owners. So owners, a lot of owners I know, they are not greedy people. They just want to pay for their property and they move on. But these middlemen and women are the ones creating a lot of chaos. And that's the fact.
So who is going to handle this issue of real estate agents? Who is going to take charge? Because it's more like they are everywhere. Like they are everywhere. Anywhere you turn to, you see somebody trying to advertise something. I get one house somewhere. And that's how it always goes. And then when you get to the house, you're like, is this the house? This should not even pass for a shop, but this is a house. And then they add the rent is there. Then they add their own charge. Then there are a lot of charges, like too many charges on housing here in FCT.
No, the truth is
the caution fee.
Thank you. The services,
maintenance.
Thank you.
A lot of them. Why?
The services of the real estate agents cannot be. We cannot undermine their services. They are needed, because most property owners, they are not even in the country. They're not even in Abuja. So they need those kind of people on ground, but they also need to find people who are reputable, who have some level of integrity that they will give their property to. Because, for instance, suddenly they just change the fee for rent. I don't do all these rent. No, I don't do that. But I hear these things, and now if you pay rent, you will pay 10% agency and pay 5%
caution fee.
The formal legitimate fee is 5%. But now they have made it 10% and nobody is saying anything. So now they take 10% from you and then they take 5% legal. So you are paying 15% on agency and legal fees. Then they ask you for caution fee. Now, most of the time, this caution fee is meant to be refundable.
Funded.
They don't refund the caution fee to people. Most times you have to fight them. And many times this caution fee does not even go to the owner of the property. He goes to either these agents, the lawyer. That's another thing. Barristers in real estate, they are probably even worse than agents.
So that means there's a lot going on in the real estate industry.
Exactly.
There's a lot going on in that sector that nobody is checkmating. Because I've been to other places. I've gotten accommodations in other places. And it's not as difficult as Abuja real estate agents make it seem. Because you can just walk into a place in Enugu and then the landlord is just sitting nearby. And I like this house. Okay, send money. And that's it. There's no agents. There's no. You just sign some documentations, and that's just it.
There's a perception that has been created about Abuja, which is Abuja is money on the ground. When you go to Abuja, you see money on the ground. That's with
it's not Canada.
Thank you. And it began with our democracy since Obasanjo. Everybody feels that when they come to Abuja, they just become rich because somebody can just see you and just dash you 50 million naira. That's the perception. So people come to Abuja with greed. They are motivated by greed. So even when whatever they are doing, they just want to charge you more, find a way to extort you. And the real estate agents are also one of these people. So property owners must look for people, look for realtors who would represent you. There are many properties currently in this city that have been in the market for 1 year, 2 years. You know why they are not sold? Because the owner wants to sell his property for 300 million, but the agent is saying 700 million. Ridiculous addition to prices of property. The owner gets to hear about it. What do you expect? He doesn't even know anything about real estate. So my property can sell for 700 million. Okay, now it's 700 million. So that's what it is.
And that's so terrible.
Yeah.
So now let's move on. Now my question is going to be, we've been talking about this issue of affordable housing and the issues with housing system here in the FCT. But talking about affordable housing, do you think it is actually achievable in the real sense of it?
It's very achievable. Now, when there is a problem, we need to first identify the problem. And then we now come up with creative solutions to that problem. And when we are doing that, there has to be a level of empathy. One of the things I notice in the real estate industry is there's no empathy. Everybody is going into the sector to create a product for the rich. So I want to go as a real estate developer, for instance. I'm just thinking about one big man that will come and buy up the estate. I'm not thinking, okay, what about these low-income earners? What about these middle-income earners? And the real market is in those places. How about building something, going to the outskirts, maybe Buhari, for instance, and then buying a land cheap and building like two-bedroom flats, newly married couples, you just graduated, okay, create a mortgage plan with a mortgage company and then take them there. But, money, I want to make money fast. I'm a real estate developer. That's what you see. The moment someone finishes a project in Abuja as a real estate developer, next thing is going around with armed policemen. And then, so the motivation is so wrong. So that is that we need to have more people with empathy who have, creative strategy to deal with this issue. But we cannot rule out the fact that the government needs to step in, either with providing more houses on their own. The government needs to build more houses for people because there are people in this country who have 50, 100 houses, one human being. So it means that it is possible for government to create, these products for middle, low-income earners, civil servants, entrepreneurs, make these things easier for them. And then with that, infrastructures must also be in place, like I said, security, water, all these things. It is not rocket science. It can be solved.
All right. Now, quickly before we go, the issue of part payment for rent, paying monthly payment for rent. What are your thoughts about that?
There are lots of societies where your rent is paid monthly, and the minimum wage in those societies are even triple what Nigeria is. So I benefit from, because I sell and I do long lease and I develop. Now, I benefit from long lease. 5 years. You know how much, and when I'm doing that, I'm not doing 1 million naira houses. A rent can be like 30 million, and 5 years, 150 million. It's almost like you sold a house. But we must come to the point where we begin to deal with the realities of the Nigerian ecosystem. Some people's salary is 25,000 naira in a month. How can they pay you in advance for their salary? So we need to have some empathy and just monthly, we will build structures in place to ensure that, we also have to deal with Nigerians, difficult human beings. They will pay 1 month now and tell you, I'm not moving out. I'll pay you next month. So there has to be things in place. We have to create policies and then just to balance things up. There has to be an equilibrium so that everybody can feel, they can belong and then live a happy life.
All right, thank you so much. I wish we had more time. We would have continued this conversation, but it's been amazing talking to you. I picked a lot from everything you said so far, and I'm very sure our viewers also did the same. And that was our conversation with Femi Jubal, and he's a realtor, and we've been discussing affordable housing here in FCT. Thank you so much for watching Abuja File today. Till we come your way next time, I am Sandra Ago. And to my crew, thank you so much, and I appreciate you. Bye for now.